Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Ashish and I'm a junior doctor working in the UK. So I haven't been able to make a lot of videos this week, but I am back to making some videos for you. I was busy making something else, which is the PLAB Made Easy flashcards, and I have prepared a lot of flashcards for different subjects. I have tried to put in all the important bits that you need for the PLAB exams. So check out these flashcards in the link in description, and you will find really important and valuable content which is there in the flashcards, and these flashcards will really help you out when you are struggling with time and when you are very close to your exam date. If you want to support my work on YouTube, you can do so by clicking on the like button, sharing this video as much as possible, and subscribing to this channel. In this video, I'll be talking about some challenges which one faces in GP surgery. I have recently moved from A&E, which is a busy hospital setting, to a quiet general practice setting, and I have faced a lot of challenges, and in this video I'll be talking about all those challenges so that if you are someone who's planning to go to GP, you will be well prepared and you will know how to tackle with these challenges, and you will be able to make a good decision on whether you want to go for GP training or not. Let's start with this video. The first one is lack of resources. When I was working in A&E, I had access to all of the observations of the patients, which includes respiratory rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturations, and I had access to their basic bloods, their VBGs, ABGs. I had access to their urine dipstick results. I had access to their ECGs. But when I've moved into a GP practice setting, it is very difficult to get all of these things. If you want to get observations for a patient, you'll have to do them yourself. If you want to get an ECG for a patient who you think could be having any problems with their heart, then you'll have to speak to a district nurse who is generally based in a GP setting, and sometimes if they're busy, you'll have to do it yourselves. And it's very tricky because you have a limited time to assess a patient. So if you want any blood investigations, it's not possible to get them in a GP setting. So you have to make decisions for the patient according to your clinical acumen, and I think this can lead to a lot of problems. But I think as people get more experience in GP setting, they know what is really bad and what is good, and which patients need referral to the hospital and which patients can be managed in the community setting. So it is a lot about the clinical acumen. So yes, GP setting lacks basic resources, and you can't rely a lot on different things, and you have to rely on the symptoms and signs which your clinical examinations give you. The next one is 10-minute consultations. As a GP trainee, when I started in a GP practice, I am given 30 minutes to see a patient, do an examination on them, and type down all the history and examination findings and my observations, which includes all the vital signs such as respiratory rate, heart rate, etc. in the computer system, and I get 30 minutes for that. But when you become a general practitioner, then you just have 10 minutes. And if the patient comes with a lot of problems, or if they have a really detailed history, and if they have a lot on their examination, then it becomes really difficult to do all of that in 10 minutes. For example, if you are in a diabetic clinic, then you have to discuss their previous blood results, you'll have to discuss further management plan, you have to do a foot examination, you have to take their weights, you have to do all the observations like blood pressure, heart rate, saturations, temperature, and a lot of other things. And then you'll have to address all of the concerns of the patient, and then you'll have to decide on whether the patient needs any further referral or when they should come and see you again. So it can be quite challenging to do all of those things in 10 minutes. So if you have a patient who is really unwell, and if you want to send them to the hospital, then it is quite time consuming as well, because then you'll have to speak to a doctor in the hospital who needs to accept your referral. Then you need to type in all the history, examination, take a printout, fax it to the hospital, then you ask the patient to go to the hospital. So I find it really difficult to do all of those things in 10 minutes. That is one of the biggest challenges which I've ever faced working in medicine. The next one is the home visits. When I go for a day in my GP practice, then I have a morning clinic, and after the morning clinic, the cases are reviewed with my supervisor, and then they give me a patient to see who's at their home and who is unable to come to the GP practice. So you have to take your own vehicle and you have to go there and assess them in their home setting, and you'll have to make decisions regarding further management for the patient in the community setting. So it becomes a bit difficult to assess the patient in home visits sometimes, and sometimes it can lead to a lot of gray areas which you can't really resolve. So it's a bit tricky and I find it a bit challenging. So that's the third challenge which I faced in GP practice. The next one is rising complaints. As GP is a primary care specialty, the GP is the one who the patient sees first. If the patient thinks that they are not sick enough to go to A&E or the emergency department of hospital, they'll turn up to their GPs, and then the GP will take a history, examine them, and they will decide on whether the patient can be managed in community or whether they need to be referred to a specialist, and whether the referral has to be routine or urgent. So a GP is the one who needs to make that important decision. A lot of times GPs can miss out on the initial stages of a lot of serious pathologies like sepsis or diabetic ketoacidosis and a lot of other things. And I think this comes from the lack of resources in a GP setting and the limited amount of time a general practitioner has to assess a patient, and this can lead to a lot of complaints, and this can lead to legal proceedings as well, and a lot of GPs have ended up losing their license and ended up in jail as well. So this is an unfortunate reality of working in primary care, and this is a big challenge as well. The next challenge is isolation. When you're working in a hospital setting, you have yourselves working with your seniors, your juniors, nurses, healthcare assistants, pharmacists, and lots of other healthcare professionals. But when you're working in a GP setting, especially when you are working as a fully functioning GP, you're working alone, you just do your clinics, you do your paperwork, and then you go home. And there is very limited contact with your colleagues. So I think it could be a bit challenging in terms of loneliness for some people. And I found it really strange when I moved from A&E, which is a very busy setting, to the general practice setting, which is quite lonely, and it could be a bit isolating as well if you are not speaking to a lot of colleagues there. So that was a challenge for me. The next one is a lot of paperwork which is there in a general practice setting. When you're working as a GP, you have to deal with a lot of documents, and these can be regarding referrals for your patients, these can be regarding replies from various specialties for your patients, and you have to maintain the records. You don't have to literally do everything on paper, but you have to do that online these days. So it can lead to a lot of paperwork, and you have to deal with all of that, and that can lead to you working for extra hours, and that is one of the challenges in GP. So those were all of the challenges which I faced when I moved from a hospital setting to a general practice setting, and I hope that you learned something from this video, and I hope that if you are someone who's going for general practice, then you got some idea about how general practice is and what challenges one can face there. If you want to see more of such videos, support my work here by clicking on the like button, share this video as much as possible, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you soon. Thanks a lot for watching.